Today's story was written by Reddit user Moonfly71. Humans, hey? Yeah, okay, we can talk about humans. So long as no humans come in. I ain't about to get into one of those "our species has never done anything good that hasn't had an awful and horrible ulterior motive" arguments. I was in the Galactic Navy and had too many of those with the human engineer in my unit. It was really his only annoying quality. Well, that and the sheer number of damn creatures he kept bringing on board the ship whenever we stopped on a world. That was a pretty fucking huge problem. But also kinda the good kind, you know, and it's just what humans do, so... Wait, you don't know? Damn, kid, what were you? Raised on a stranded asteroid? Labs Davis, deep space kid. Okay, pull that chair up closer and get comfy. We might be here a while. Bartender, we're gonna need another round of beers over here. Gonna be here longer than I thought. Alright, where was I? Right, humans and their pets. That's a seriously major deal for their species. A major psychological trait they have. Pack bonding, I mean. Those crazy bastards will connect with just about anything. A rock, a computer, a specific mug or a chair, a Zathrexian cowbeck, hell, even a Grassani cub without parents. Those aren't just me spitballing either. My friend in the Marines really did those last two. Like I said, humans will pack bond with anything if they've had enough exposure to it, and what exactly counts as enough exposure is so subjective it isn't even funny. The best example of this that most people will recognise pretty easily is that shit that happened with the Grassani. You know about that at least. Okay, good. Not a moron then. Just never met a human. I can work with that. So yeah, the Zathrex swoop in out of nowhere to light those fluffy little guys up and enslave the ones they don't cook up. And out of nowhere, the humans come in like a dreadnought at light speed with piss and rage and unleash 1,000 nightmares on those scaly fuckers. They even jammed a moon into their capital planet just to get the point across. That, my friend, was the humans pack bonding. Sure, it's an extreme example, but it is one. Humanity as a whole saw the Grassani and innately decided that these people were theirs, and no one was going to hurt them. And I got news for you. I've never met a Grassani and a human that don't get along. Besides pirates, that is. But pirates barely count as sentience as far as I'm concerned. More like pests you need to gut and burn. But I digress. That's a large-scale example, but every human does it on a small scale all the time. A good example is my Marine friend. His name was Chris Axel, but we just call him Axe, since he used one of those big-ass human plasma axes in melee combat. Anyways, Axe and I were in the same unit for years, and I saw him pick up all kinds of shit over the years. All kinds of people too. It all started on this mission we had to a little colony south of Galvanar, called New York. It was a hegemony of Sol colony named after one of their traditional city names, apparently. Crazy bastards just added an extra new every time they made another one. Anyways, it was a hegemony colony, but there were plenty of other species living there besides just humans. When we got there, just about nothing was living in that place. They'd been hit by a rogue group of pirates and the whole place had been raided and burned. There were bodies of humans, Grassani, Ketuan, Slavang and Vorgaxi. It was nasty, and to make it worse, those bastards hadn't spared anyone. Anyone. So when I say we had to search through a hegemony elementary school for survivors, just don't even try to imagine it. Whatever your mind comes up with won't do it justice, and it'll still fuck you up. All you need to know is that it was bad, and that we found out that not all the pirates had left when we went in. About 5 of the bastards were still in the school when we got there, all humans. They were surrounded by corpses and were standing right in front of this tiny Grisani kid. Grisani males are small as adults, so if you've ever seen one, you can understand how small a young Grisani female might be. Poor thing was terrified, and those pirates... Well, they didn't get to hurt her. Mostly because Axe broke formation, pulled that damn plasma axe off his back, and went to work. Those 5 had heavy plasma repeaters and some outdated, but still impressive pre-Grisani War Hegemony issue power armor. Axe was in standard non-powered council composite armor. Not a good matchup considering teddy bears with rocks could probably breach the helmets on those things. Not that it mattered in the end, because Axe slaughtered them like tearing cattle before they could even get a shot off. So he's standing there, just having severed limbs and cutting people in half, Axe still glowing and humming. And he kneels down right in front of this terrified little girl, and I'll never forget how that 4-armed, rainbow-swirled little puffball just threw herself into that big scary bastard's arms. And he just dropped the axe and held her. Luckily, that axe cauterized all the wounds, or he'd have gotten her covered in blood. I think the poor thing would have hugged him anyway, though. There's just something about humans that gives off calm if they're imprinting, or have already imprinted on you. Call me a lying bastard if you want, but I swear I've seen it firsthand, and this was the first time I did. We took that little thing back to our dropship and met back up with our cruiser. The entire time he never let go of her. When we got back to the ship and debriefed, she was still in his arms. She stayed right next to Axe for weeks until the Council's Child Services Division finally showed up to try and relocate Adra. That was her name, to a proper Grisani family. Axe almost shot that bastard right then and there. The only thing that stopped him was Adra slapping the man in the face with her tail, and then scaling her saviour, twisting around his back, and peeking her head out just enough to hiss at him. After that, there was a lot of paperwork. A lot of paperwork. But in the end, Axe got to keep Adra. Perhaps not the best idea, since the closest thing to a permanent address the bastard had was a constantly moving council combat cruiser. But it was that, or try and remove a pack-bonded human from a traumatized little girl. And yeah, they did try that with a bunch of legal mumbo-jumbo, and yes, that probably would have been better and smarter and all that jazz. But it also would have killed those two, on the inside. Luckily, they stayed together. Mostly because our commanding officer, not so subtly, leaked the story to a couple dozen galactic news stations. Surprised you never heard about it. The media was in a tizzy for a few galactic cycles about it. Tons of people from hundreds of species and planets were chiming in, the majority on Axe and Adra's side, especially the Grisani government, which rapidly started passing human imprinting protection laws to protect any humans living in Grisani systems from legal meddling involving friends, orphan children, pets, etc. But this matter was technically a hegemony of soul problem, even if the Galactic Council was trying to overstep and take charge. We all waited with bated breath, dreading the human response. I remember what I thought would happen. What with how humans always see the worst in their minds and hearts, they'd accuse my big dumb overly caring glocksome of a friend of kidnapping that little girl. They'd send humans in suits to pull her away and send her to some awful foster care facility with humans who wouldn't or couldn't imprint on her. And I'd watch my friend die from the inside out as the light was taken from his life. We were so certain we understood the human mentality, the natural response they could have, that the captain of our ship held a meeting to discuss our course of action. Obviously, Axe was not included in this meeting, for fear he would try to convince us not to interfere. We agreed, under no certain terms, that no one would be taking our human's daughter. We would go rogue if we had to, and drive our vessel through galactic blockades, run from the vast resources of the hegemony, draw blood from soldiers we'd fought side by side with, if that was what it came to. Marines swear an oath to the Galactic Council. I can't pronounce the actual words because it's in ancient Cathar, but roughly translated it means, "We have no honour but the Council's. Our life is the Council's. Our will is the Council's. Our bodies and blood will fall and spill to protect its people, for now and forever." Every Galactic Marine eats, sleeps and breathes that motto. Through the budget cuts, incompetent orders and bureaucracy, we remain the most loyal troops the Galactic Council has, and an entire ship of us, all with impeccable records and hundreds of successful missions and commendations under our belts, were prepared to forsake every word of that oath for a single human and the little Grassani girl he didn't want to let go. That's the fucking power of a human pack bond, kid. You don't always notice it until shit hits the turbine. Then suddenly you realise that the human you spend time with is someone you'd jump on a grenade for without a second thought. And when you try to, the human puts a pinch in your kidneys and wraps his whole body over the grenade himself. But I'm getting off course. Like I said, the Sol hegemony was going to be the major voice in this little battle, and they were. And once again, the galaxy was shown just how little we actually understood our strange, small, paradoxical little friends. Because the Sol hegemony came screaming into the battle, both fists swinging, on Ax's side. We were on Glaxar Prime at this point, the Council's capital planet, waiting for the trial that would decide whether he could keep Adra, or if we'd have to fight our way out of the most fortified planet in the Galactic Coalition. About halfway through our wait, the Sol hegemony's official representatives arrived, along with an honour guard of 20 fully armed Marines in Grassani bioarmour, each with an equally armed and armoured Grassani combat partner. And they weren't there to protect the ambassador. They had come as protection for Axe and his little girl. Those crazy bastards had standing orders to aid in the extraction of the assets if the council vote went the way the humans didn't want it to. Say what you will about humanity, but family matters to them. Family that you weren't born to, for humans, that's the most important kind. It's a sacred thing to them. So taking Adra from Axe, that would be the greatest of sins to the hegemony, and they made that blatantly clear in the council chambers. So Axe kept his daughter, and the current legal precedent of let humans keep whatever they want, it's safer with them anyways, was established. Pretty crazy shit, right? Still can't believe you didn't know about all this human stuff before, kid. Huh? What was Adra like growing up? What happened to the Zathrexian Kellepic? Heh, greedy little bugger, aren't you? Always wanting more. Tell you what, kid, you buy the next couple of rounds, and I'll keep talking until the beer runs out. Now, about that Kellepic.